My feature, I'll just go ahead and start, is called Keeping Up with Thursday. This is a comic by It's Just Air, which actually at first when I saw his username sort of popping up around the place, I thought it was It's Justar, like Justar was like Sundar the Barbarian or something. But his name is Aaron, so it's probably meant to be It's Just Air, like a nickname for Aaron. So, but every time I see it, I think It's Justar. Okay. I have no idea what the title means, Keeping Up with Thursday, unless it's some kind of play on Keeping Up with the Joneses. I don't know. That's not a term. Keeping Up with Thursday is not something I ever heard. So I had assumed that the main character was named Thursday, you know, when you were keeping up with Thursday, the main character. But it's not. His name is Patrick. Patrick is a mouse. He has a Cockneyish accent and a penchant for stealing. Actually, I can say, like, Patrick's a mouse with a Cockneyish accent and a penchant for stealing. The story is set in turn-of-the-century London. It starts out with him in mid-ice, breaking into a lady's jewellery box with the help of his accomplice and a basket of soft laundry to land in, which is foiled by the arrival of a nasty cat. Currently, it's in a flashback of his childhood. Patrick's first pinch, or... I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. The comic is shaping up to be a long-form story comic with an overall plot and so on, and just looking at it, you can't help but think of it in terms of an animated children's movie or cartoon. Might live in a world with humans and cats, etc., so there's all sorts of dangers to them, but also means fun use of props. I can't do it. Also fun use of props and scenery. Mice managing in a man's world. However, they seem to have the same social and value systems as humans, where mice work hard and run shops and stealing is bad, so it's not too unfamiliar. This is a potential comic. It's off to a great start, and there are a lot of promising things there. It's not brilliant yet, and there's a good few avenues for improvement, but it's certainly unique, fun, backed up with some skill, and succeeds at what it's trying to do. There's only 41 pages, so there's plenty of stories still left to go. Most notably, the comic oozes charm. As I mentioned, it taps into films like An American Tale. Patrick has an he has an over-the-top, lowbrow English accent. which is not perfect and a little distracting sometimes, but it's a great fun. Speaking of distracting, it's great fun to read. And, hey, mice. I can't keep that up, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to go back to normal. These are full-page comics, and the art is done in a cartoony style, reminiscent of Disney and Don Bluth movies. The inking and coloring is done digitally. Elements of the art start to seem a little bit limiting, but It's Just Air manages some surprisingly nice scenes. I feel like his choice of art tool is actually holding him back. Overall, it's very colorful and charming, and It's Just Air is a dab hand at cartoon animal faces and expressions. He constantly draws backgrounds, and because of the mouse angle, there's often some fun things going on with the environment and details. Mice having to scramble onto big objects, big or rather small flowers, as house decorations, and even a bit of a mouse town in a basement. He mixes up his panels and angles, there's comedy and action scenes and so forth, so visually there's a number of nice things going on.
Okay, that was a really good review. I love the acting. You could be an actor. It's incredible.
Cons, liberals, atheists, hardcore Christians, feminists, and basically everyone who disagrees with me one way or the other. One time I've even had some rumors circulated about me that accused me of being some sort of violent terrorist cult leader or something. Can you imagine that? Accusing me of pushing forward the views of the villains in my comic. Wow, how stupid is that? Anyway, that's why I had to put up a disclaimer on my comic. And moral of the story, when you do a webcomic, expect to take flack one way or the other. Your art, your story, yourself, your political views, everything about you. The moment you put yourself out there, you set yourself up for criticism. That's just the way things are. You cannot please everybody. That's impossible. So, anyway, thanks for listening. And that concludes this little segment, and have a nice day.
Hey there, it's Aaron Moxing, who did the Keeping Up with Thursday and Zombie Tunes comics. When someone asks me what I've learned, I like to think that what I've learned actually is more of an artistic style kind of thing going there. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's certainly like a big step forward from all the crude kind of artwork that I've been doing since 2001 and 2005. I mean, my first comic, was a friend effort. It was we did this Back to the Future parody tribute kind of thing called Aaron's Cartoon Adventure, and it was about these three guys, and they were able to travel around to all their favorite Saturday morning cartoons, and the whole thing was influenced by the three films by the two Bobs, Bob Gale and Bob Zemeckis. But from that, later on, after those comics ended, I started doing a bunch of fan art, and I got to know a lot of people, who grew up on these cartoons up close. So, I got to learn, how to draw a mouse and, what else? Or scenic London, or different forced perspective shots, and learning a little bit of how they talk and how they dressed. All fancy kind of stuff I couldn't really do in the earlier comics, that weren't just boxes and signs and stuff like that. Here, I got Big Ben, or I've got the agency and Zombie Tunes, the Hollywood scenery, the Hollywood sign thing kind of going there. So yeah, I'd like to think that artistically is what I've been changed in a lot most. How to do this and that, panels, that kind of thing. There's always room for improvement, so I say, just keep studying, you'll get better over time.
This is Electro, creator of Negligence, Cubicle, and Stickman 10th Anniversary, here to talk about what I've learned by making comics. I've been drawing since I first picked up a pencil, but I didn't really develop that talent until I was in college. That's when I started taking a lot of art courses toward my major in illustration.